Magic doesn't come from you. The magic of life isn't about who you are, what you've done, whether you're Prime Minister of a country or a road sweeper, whether you're rich or whether you're poor. The magic of this life isn't found in that. It isn't found in what we compare ourselves in the human world. In that world, it's irrelevant. Whether you're the boss, whether you're the worker, whether you're poor, whether you're rich, whether you live on the streets, whether you're homeless, just about to be made homeless. That's not the magic of life. That's not what the magic of life is about. It's not about you. The magic of life, the true mystery is that it's happening. That this life is happening. That everything's appearing now. And it's being experienced. And we don't know who's experiencing it. We don't know what's experiencing it. But yet it's being experienced and it's appearing. And how magical is that? When we put it into time and we put it into reason and we put it into sense, then things become more heavy or more solid. But when we remember the mystery of it, it's like childlike innocence, that we don't know why it's appearing. We don't know what the meaning of life is. The meaning of life is certainly not about accomplishments, about getting things or doing things. Even becoming enlightened is an accomplishment for the mind. It's something that you already know, and not you already know, that you can achieve, something that you know. So that cannot be the meaning of life. The meaning of life can't be something tangible, because when you go into time, when you go into thinking, it all becomes solid and heavy, and it's just not true the way that we think life is. You think that you came into this room, that you sat down, that you're watching me. You think that you're rich or you're poor, or things are going well or badly, but this isn't true. Life is as it is. It's appearing, and it's so free, and it's so radical, and it's so spontaneous. The magic of life is not found in anything you know, anything you can understand. We look at things so upside down. The premise of the human language is based on me and you, subject, object, and this is such a lie. This isn't the way life is happening. Life isn't subject, object. The experience is wholeness. The experience is oneness. And that is so incredibly beautiful. But the humans are so focused on what they think, on what they know. This is my life, and I'm sitting here, and I've been alive 40 years, and why is it like this, and why is it like that, and I don't like this about it, and it's not fair, and why blah, 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 blah. But life is free. What's happening? What's happening? And we don't know how, we don't know why, and we don't know for what reason, and that's its beauty. Any reason wouldn't be good enough. And living in that wonder, living in that awe is the freedom. You're always looking for an answer. People come and they're always wanting me to answer things for them so they can know it and they can understand it. But that's just for you, so you can have more. But the freedom is the not knowing. The freedom is that it's happening and we don't know who it's happening to. We don't know for what reason, but it's happening. This experience, this intimate, tangible, beautiful experience, it's only unbeautiful. It's only not magical. It's only not made of awe when you're too identified with thinking and reality becomes a thought. Your life becomes a thought. You only see life through thought. And thought is never going to be a great way to see life because thinking is based on survival, boring, and it's based on production, another not so interesting thing. I mean, it's quite interesting, it is interesting, but it's going to create discomfort when there's identification and a belief that it's true, that what you think is true, what you think is not true, what you think is simply a perspective. And what you feel is not true, it's simply a reflection of the way that you're interpreting things, so the way that you're thinking. And some feelings aren't based on thinking, but a lot of them are based on what you're interpreting, thinking-wise. And it's not going to give you what you want. Your thoughts aren't going to give you what they want, that you want. They're just going to keep circling like a crazy animal, like a hamster running in a ball, looking for an answer. And this is it. It surprises me how much people love listening to me talk more than they do the sitting in silence. Like dramatically more, I would say. There's maybe like 80% more like the talking than the silence. And I do understand that because when I'm speaking, there is a resonance with what I say. I think that's more important than way more important than the intellectual side of what I'm saying. But there's a resonance with the energy. You can feel it when you begin to listen. The energy changes. So there's this resonance with the energy. And that's beautiful. But it's also beautiful to sit in silence because it's the same resonance of energy. It's just that you're so used to listening through the mind, through being told things. And it settles, when I'm speaking, I think it settles the mind a bit. There's a focus on something. And when you're just sitting with me, the mind's suddenly like, what did I do? So it can produce uncomfortable feelings. But it's the same energy of this emptiness. There is nothing experiencing this. There is nothing experiencing this. There is nobody having an experience here. That's the freedom. There's nobody that's ever born. There's nobody that dies. This is the freedom. Who is listening to my words now? The mind says, I am and I'm inside this body. But that's not your experience. Your experience is mystery. Your experience is not knowing. It's just that the reason that doesn't make sense is because you're so focused on what you think and what you know. You don't know what experience is without thinking about it because you're so used to living in a mental interpretation of experience. But the experience is happening all the time. Even if you are focused on the thinking, there is this mysterious experiencing happening that belongs to no one. It's so beautiful. And there's nothing you need to do to get to this, because you already are it. So even though the mind is looking, where is it, where is it, where is it, it's already here. It's here, it is. And there's nothing that that mind needs to do to accomplish that. We can do some things to settle down the mind. Normally the mind is so active because the mind thinks something, it activates a feeling, the feeling is uncomfortable, which makes the thought think even more to try and get away from that feeling. So it's kind of like this circle that happens in the body. The thought is like, I don't like that, and the feeling comes up of discomfort in the body, and then the thought is like, there's something I really don't like, and it chats on about something that it really doesn't like, it normally thinks it's something out in the world. The feeling gets bigger, the thought gets bigger, and then the cycle starts. Trying to pedal away from the experience. Hello? Hello? There's nothing you need but this. This is all you need, and life isn't how you think it is. The mind thinks, but if I relax into this, then my life will go to pot. Bad things will happen. I won't protect myself, or I won't earn enough money, or I won't pay my taxes. But it doesn't work like that, life. It works on energy and vibration. This is all energy. Like when you break everything down, it all comes down to energy. It's not working the way you think it is. Your thinking is what's creating it the way you think it is. So your thinking gives it the perspective that it's like that. So if you think if you do this, all bad things will happen, then you'll start seeing bad things that happen. Your mind will start selecting that out of the experience. It's like that experiment that they did where they got participants to focus on the colour blue beforehand. I don't think the participants knew. And then when they showed the participants pictures of blue, the participants kept picking out blue in the pictures. They kept seeing things as blue, and they didn't see the other colours so much. It's like what your mind focuses on. If your mind focuses on that this is a bad reality and bad things are happening, that's what you'll see. If you begin to see that everything's coming from love and everything's exactly how it's meant to be and couldn't be any other way, and is an expression of love no matter what, then your life completely changes, and that's really seen. Suddenly all the events that you experience aren't something that's against you, aren't something that you can judge and say this is a good thing or a bad thing. They suddenly are free of that judgment. Of the human's projection of the way it thinks. And the way you think is what you're going to attract, because that's what you're going to see everywhere. So if you see negativity, that's what you're going to see and experience. If you see positivity, exactly the same circumstances, you see positivity, then that's what you're going to experience. And it's not about positive or negative thinking, it's that what you think isn't true. It's the letting go, it's the detachment from your idea of yourself, the fundamental thought, which is I am separate and experiencing this world and I control my life separately, which is a total lie. This is one energy expressing itself, one energy. And that energy moves in its own way, not the way that we think it is. That's our interpretation in order for us to communicate, in order to produce things and to sell things and to live as a community. It's not the way life is. If you're always focusing on being lonely, that's what you're going to see. This world is going to become a lonely world. If you're always focused on poverty, this is what you're going to see. The world is a poor world. If you're always focused on that this world is giving, then that's what you're going to see. That's not freedom, though, the way that you see the world. It's the disattachment from that way of seeing things. But when you're seeing things really negatively, yourself and your feelings and your emotions are very tightly contracted. And all you can focus on is yourself when you're suffering a lot. When your thoughts are more positive, there's less attachment to them. When somebody's happy, they never ask me, why is this happening? When somebody's suffering, they always ask, why is this happening? Or when they're suffering, they always say, but why does life do this? Why is life so mean? When someone's happy, they don't say, but why is life doing this? Why is life so kind? They're just open to that experience, involved in that experience, honoring that experience. So it's not that you've got to make yourself positive or happy. It's just that when you're telling all these really negative stories and really identified to them, then the energy is really contracted inside your body. see it from your own experience though. When you're unhappy, you feel like a lump inside your body. You feel like a weight. You feel very small. When you're happy, you feel more expanded because there's less identification with the happiness. It's not that contraction, like identification, comes with negativity. It's just that when something you don't like happens, there's such a, I don't like this, I don't want this, why is this happening to me? And it makes the world smaller and smaller and smaller. When something good is happening, then you don't ask questions and you're not trying to hold on to it, you're just experiencing it. And so the energy expands. But that's what the human was always getting trapped in. It always thinks, okay, I've got to be happy, I've got to be create positive experiences, and that's the answer to life. But that's not the answer to life. It's just that when you're happy, the seeking dissipates. And this is who you are. I'm so handy. I see my hands like this is who you are. This expansiveness. When you're happy, there isn't so much of a contraction inside the body. So before I had this big awakening, I basically was on retreat for 3 years. And I remember someone in the last stream or a couple of streams ago was like, I'm so jealous that you got that, did that. But it wasn't easy. Like, imagine being 26 years old, deciding to go and live in the forest, giving up your home, your job, your security, what people thought was normal for you, what were expected to do, and just going and living in the forest in the middle of nowhere. And I didn't think at the time I'm going to live with my teacher or that this is going to get me liberated, because he wasn't a famous teacher, no one knew him. And I mean, I liked the way he spoke, so I liked this speaking to him because he was very wise, but at the same time, I didn't see him like that. I didn't ever see him really like it. It's, even now, but it's just an easy way to call him because it's the way like he taught me many things. So, but it wasn't about him as such. Like, living in the forest in the middle of nowhere in a really remote place for 3 years is really not something a 26-year-old young woman does. And it was really amazing experience. I would clean the leaves or do the gardening. And some days that could be really hellish and I could be really suffering and really tightly contracted. And then other days I could feel so much joy and so expanded. And day by day I began to see, and this was the biggest thing that I experienced there, was that the I am, your freedom is here all the time. It's not about events. It's not about what you do. It's the moment. It's who you are. And in the moment, what you do and what you are and who you are disappears. When I was doing the gardening, I wasn't a 26-year-old that moved to Australia, that gave up my life at home. I wasn't that person doing the gardening. It was just happening. And there was just joy. That I am is the same I am no matter what. It's just that in the person there can be this tight, contracted energy where you're identified with that person, or this expansive energy. And that wasn't easy seeing that. Prior to all those years in the forest, I'd been a practicing Buddhist for 5 years. I think if I hadn't done that 5 years of Buddhist practice, I would have run a mile, because those 5 years of Buddhist practice taught me how to not have to be entertained all the time. So when I lived in the forest, I didn't require entertainment. I'd been on retreats where I just sat and meditated the whole day. So I was so used to not being entertained and knowing that entertainment or having lots of friends or going out partying or drinking or going on boat trips, I think they do in Perth a lot, is boats on the sea and the ocean, that none of that was it. Like it was so clear after all those years of meditation. There's nothing in life that's going to give you what you look for. You can't get it in accomplishing anything. And so maybe you're thinking, okay, well, I don't want to accomplish anything. I just don't want the bills. I don't want to have to work so hard. I don't want to have to give my kids so much attention. I don't want this. I don't want that. And as you focus on that don't want, what you don't want, that's what you experience. And you fail to see that again and again, no matter how much I point it out. Not all of you, but some people. I mean, from the questions, but not everybody. There's so many people out there that do get it. I didn't mean to sound negative there. So if you keep focusing on the negative, that's what your life experience is going to be. You've got to see those are thoughts and they're not reality. They're not true. It doesn't mean putting up with your situation, but you have to move to what it is you want. What is it that I want here? Not what is it that I don't want. What is it I don't want? Focusing on that is going to bring you all the things you don't want. What is it you want? I want more time. Just focus on that and it will happen, because life is magical. You just need to focus on what it is that you want and it will come. And not reject it, not push it away. You'll be amazed how many things you're pushing away in your experience. How people have offered to have your kids, or how people have offered to give you money and you're like, no, I must do it alone. It must be like this. Life is magical. It's not like you think. It only appears like you think because that's what you think and that's how you see the world. Okay, we'll take some questions.